Using the simulator, I've always lost money from opening cases. But how do real cases compare? Of course, I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars to find out. Instead, I simply watched and then analysed MrTweeday's 24-hour stream, where he unboxed no less than 2,228 cases. Give or take. Just a quick warning, although I spent a good amount of time making this video, there could be mistakes. There probably are. But I feel that the sample size and Excel sheet is big enough to provide a fairly accurate representation of what you can expect from unboxing cases. And I found some pretty interesting things that I'm going to share with you. It wasn't enough to record the cases he ended up unboxing. I also kept track of the ones either side. From my own experience with the simulator, I wondered if there was some sort of conspiracy where the best items would land either side of the one that I got. But MrTweeday's unboxing shows a very different story. He lands on a surprisingly large number of rarer skins than the drops either side. This includes restricted, classified, covert, and the stat track versions as well. This isn't the entire story, however, which we'll get on to later when assessing the value of the weapons he unboxed. You'll notice that I had slightly fewer results for the side weapons than the main one. This is because occasionally in the stream it would glitch up and I would only be able to see the drops that he got. Since this affects less than 0.5% of the data, I've decided to ignore it since it shouldn't impact the probability, but may reduce the total value of the drops. I'll mention it as and when it's needed. Ah, the knives. The thing that everybody wants to know about. He got 5, 3 of which were within minutes of each other. 2 were stat tracks, which is the rarest type of drop that you can get. You'll also notice that the only knives listed are the ones that he actually landed on. No near misses. I searched for unfortunate case openings and the only video I could find of it narrowly missing a knife is this one, which I think is a fake. I hope it is. Actually I don't. Maybe I do. I just don't know anymore. But hey, we're studying the 24-hour case unboxing session here, and from it it's easy to assume that Valve may have removed near misses with knives to spare everybody's sanity. But I have spoken to people who have claimed to have had near misses. Since multiple different case types were unboxed, this raises even more questions. Are you more likely to get better items from certain cases than others? I created this table which details the chances of unboxing weapon types from different containers. It's a bit complicated to look at, but you can see that MrTweeday had above average luck across the board, scoring fewer mil-specs than the drops either side of the ones that he landed on time after time. If you only want to know about the drops he ended up getting, look at the middle numbers here. In this table I've combined all 3 weapons from each case, making the total sample size 6,684. I'd ignore Operation Bravo here since it's based on just one case, an annoying case that caused me way too much extra work. However, the rest are interesting to look at. They all hover in the region between 70 and 80% to get a mil-spec. It seems as though Operation Phoenix is your best chance of getting something more exotic than your standard mil-spec, and was also responsible for 3 of the 5 knives that MrTweeday ended up getting, despite being less than 7% of the total number of cases. Unfortunately, probability and gambling in general encourages you to look for patterns where there may be none. It's interesting to spot something like this, but always take it with a pinch of salt, since next time the same sort of unboxing takes place, it could be completely different. Please don't do it for a while though, MrTweeday, I need time to recover from this one first. In bold at the bottom are the average percentage of getting different grades of weapons, regardless of the container. These are calculated from the actual number of drops themselves, and not just from the table shown here. Just a weird little thing I did. Statisticians hate me. If anybody's wanting to make a case simulator, these are the values you're probably best off using. Saying that, even this sample size isn't big enough to properly work out the chances of the less common drops. I refuse to believe that stat track coverts are more rare than the stat track knives. But don't shoot me, shoot the data. All these percentages are well and good, but what we want to know is the value. So I went through the marketplace and calculated the average for each grade of weapon. I did this by adding up the current value of all of the different blues in all their numerous conditions, then by dividing them by the number of variations there were. Particularly with older boxes, the average amount is pushed up by ridiculously expensive factory new models, which are likely sought after by collectors of now no longer available cases. I assumed that the chances of getting a factory new weapon was just as likely as any of the others, mainly because I have no idea how else to do it. While we're on this, let's take a detour and try to work out the average value of each case you open, per case type. I did this by multiplying the chance of getting each grade of weapon by the value of that type. It got a bit meaningless in the middle of this stage, but out of it I've produced these numbers. If you can buy and uncrate them for less than this value, then it's probably worth doing. In fact, these figures are actually quite conservative since I didn't include the remote possibility of getting a knife, and the stat track coverts I believe were probably underrepresented in this case opening session. But since the chances of those is so minimal, it would only add perhaps 5 to 10 cents onto the value, if that. Older cases are more valuable. It may be worth stocking up on them as they'll only become less common with time. Have a look at the coverts here. Which do you think is the least valuable? The left, middle, or right? Believe it or not, it's the middle. Although MrTweeday got a staggering 11 covert drops, they were all rubbishy ones. It shows how much variance in value there is, even within the same category of weapon grade. Had I only got the average value of all types of weapons from that category, then I would have overvalued the values of MrTweeday's covert drops by almost $100, well over 100%. Averaging the value of these cases would also have undervalued the value of the drops either side of the one that he actually got. I didn't bother doing this bit neatly, but you can see the names of the weapons below, the average prices to the right of the table, and the average value of each of the weapon types in the bottom left. You'll notice that I've left the value of the knives empty. This is because I had to manually look up the value of each of these. For 3 of them it was easy since they're shown in the marketplace. They're all worth a reasonable amount. However, the StatTrak Karambit Slaughters aren't listed as available. This is because they are so rare that they either aren't available or are worth more than the maximum tradable amount on the Steam market, which is currently at $400. How can that be, you might ask? It means that the only way that these are currently traded is in private trades, where it may be swapped in exchange for, say, 2 $300 skins, upping the price ceiling to whatever somebody's willing to trade them for. I'm no expert in these things, so I asked MrTweeday himself what he thinks they're worth, and he valued them at about $1,000 each. But don't nail him to the wall for that. Like I said, they're not on the market, so they're worth whatever somebody's willing to trade for them. So with that in mind, I added the value of the drops up, and it came to $4,249.53 cents, which is well over double the value of the amounts either side. Isn't he lucky with his case openings? Of course, it's not as simple as that. That's not pure profit, and you have to be a complete moron to think it is. Let's look at how much it costs to get the cases and the keys in the first place. Firstly, the cases. Operation Breakout is the most expensive, and then the keys, which range somewhere between $2.50 and $3 per case. Add all of these up and there's the cost. And without keeping you waiting, here are the final figures. Within the space of 24 hours, MrTweeday transformed over $6,000 of virtual items into $4,000 of virtual weapons, losing a third of their total value in the process. Without the 2 StatTrak Slaughters, you're talking closer to losing 2/3 of their value and having just $2,000 worth of items at the end of it. Add to that the additional market fees you incur when you trade an item, which I believe is around 15%, and you're losing a huge amount of virtual money. If you were unfortunate enough to be the guy getting the drops either side, you'd be losing even more, potentially losing a staggering 75% of the original value of your items. And where is it all going? Actually, it's gone the moment you put real money into your Steam wallet. After that, it's just about converting it into games or skins. And of course, it's going to Valve, which uses it to host the servers, fund the community tournaments, to support future projects of theirs, and of course, to profit. But you knew all that already. Whose guess was closest to this conclusion? I understand that the estimate about the $2,000 of StatTrak knives has changed it a bit, but I calculated MrTweeday's end value to be 67.2% of the original cost. Congratulations to Feed, who predicted 67.327%. 5 click points to you for an uncannily close guess. In joint second place were Sunsleeper1, Calstart619 and Salix5667, who all predicted a very simple 67%. 3 click points to each of you. And Nick Kim and _Space Pilgrim both guessed 67.45%, giving them 1 click point each. Well done to all of you. As for guessing to the left or to the right, left seemed far more popular. Perhaps it had something to do with Beyonce, I wouldn't know. However, as you have seen from this video, the middle was by far the best. Only 4 people guessed this correctly. Well done to Mag7, who predicted an eerily accurate 68%, as well as saying that the centre would be the best. I think that deserves 5 click points, and it makes him the first person to be awarded click points more than once. ETOSH-TC got everything but the percentage right, 3 click points to you, and 1 click point for Philly Fjonk and Julius B, who said the middle. Mr. Marcel2605 valued the Karambits at an even higher value, thinking that they were worth over $1,600 each. He also spotted that MrTweeday was lucky with the quantity of covert and restricted cases that he unboxed. 2 click points. Jason Zhao, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names, had a good stab at the calculation and bravely used precise numbers. I love it. Unfortunately, he was wrong, but he still gets 2 click points. I don't know what Miles Budden was talking about, but I like the idea of vice versa. Have a click point. Fisliman and others argued about the value of the knives. I hope this video has been interesting. No click points for you though! Well done to Crazyfish for spotting that only 3 of the 5 knives were included in the video. I checked the original video file and they were all there. Blame it on YouTube. I have now uploaded a half-speed version where I can confirm that all 5 knives are present. I apologise profusely. Yep, you heard me correctly. Profusely! Have 2 click points. I hope you've enjoyed this analysis. Thanks to MrTweeday for permission and for providing the data in the first place. You can check out the original 24-hour case opening stream in the description of this video. Have fun!